Okay, here we are. You are all set. Let's see if we can find ourselves on Instagram here. And there we go. All right. I think we are live. We made it. We made it. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Angel Shannon here. Hope you are tuning in and patient with us as we get this technology all together once again. So sorry for the delay here. And for anyone who's watching after the fact, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Angel Shannon, founder and executive director of SIVA Health and the SIVA Institute, where we put mindfulness and compassion in action. And that's what we had to do tonight, put some mindfulness and some compassion for ourselves in action with this technology. My co-host, Mr. Maurice Small from Small Farms in Atlanta. Maurice, how are you doing?
I'm ready to do it with you to make sure people understand the importance of watching this live stream again and again and again because of the information that we're about to share is going to be top level. Top level.
Top
How,
level.
how you doing?
I'm good. I am good. And I tell you, I've been looking forward to this. We had a little bit of a change in the schedule this week, but we were not going to let this go because it is top level. I promised viewers last time that I was going to be a student tonight to listen and learn from the maestro himself. Because I know some things about Solstice. But I tell you, listeners, viewers, when Maurice and I got to talking about Solstice, he blew my mind. So we're going to get right to it because Maurice, I want you to seriously take the stage tonight to talk to us about, first of all, what is winter solstice? Why is it important? And why do you think more than ever before we need to be leaning into understanding winter solstice and practicing some of the principles? First
Okay,
off, what is winter solstice? And thank you so much for being the maestro tonight.
pleasure for sure. Thank you for having me. The deal with winter solstice is we've always looked at the stars, we've always watched the planets traverse the atmosphere at night. We've been on the earth for a long time and we've been looking up at night by the fire, by the pine trees, by the baobab trees. We've been looking up at night for a long time. As a result of looking up at night, some nights are longer than others.
Mhm,
Some days are shorter than others. As we get into the winter solstice tomorrow in the northern hemisphere, sometime around 4:51
mhm,
p.m., there's something that happens where the time is much shorter during the day and way, way longer at night. Where
mhm,
I am in Atlanta, it gets dark around 5:31, 5:35 p.m. As you go north, it's 4:30. You get into Canada, up into Saskatchewan and stuff like that. It's doggone near 3:30 afternoon when it gets dark. So you have
yes.
long nights and short days. As a result, we have to look at what happens with the long days and what happens with the short days. And
Mhm,
this leads us into agriculture.
mhm,
Agriculture is that thing where we're feeding ourselves and we're purposeful and we're planting things and we're saving seeds. As a result of this, over millennia, we have been paying attention to the planets. We've been paying attention to the stars and the earth and the moon rotation and things like that. And we've noticed things that are able to take place during different times of the year.
mhm,
This time of the year, we've noticed, and I'm talking about over thousands and thousands of years, we've noticed that the days have gotten shorter.
mhm,
Harvest is coming in, but the days just are still getting shorter. And we're still making these final harvests to put up our stores for the winter. As
mhm,
people have begun to keep time, keep records, almanacs, and that Mayan sculptures on the wall that
Hmm.
when the moon's going to be here, Egyptian sculptures in the tombs on outside. All these things have marked time about when the harvest is coming, when the moon is going to be in certain parts of
Hmm.
our sphere, and
Right.
when the sun is going to be doing what it needs to do. As a result, we're making the harvest, putting our things away, and we're coming outside right around this time because we've been keeping track over thousands of years,
Hmm.
goes back thousands and thousands of years,
Thousands. Hmm.
keeping track of this shortest day of the year and, most importantly, the longest night.
Longest night. Hmm.
A lot of darkness that happens
Hmm.
at night. As a result, there is something that people do with this long night. They celebrate.
Hmm. Hmm.
That celebration means the long night, that was it. You worked it, right? You got the harvest in. All of your animals are good. Your plants are good. You know, you saved your seeds. Now it's time to party. And we can party for a long time by the fire because it's the longest night of the year.
Wow.
It's a celebration and it goes across cultures, European cultures,
Hmm.
East Indian cultures. In where is that? In West Africa, they have a celebration called Goru, and Goru is where they put their celebratory food, their offering, on this beautiful long boat. And this boat is meant to be a symbol of the Creator's blessing upon us. And
Wow.
also, it's a symbol of we haven't forgotten our ancestors.
Mm.
That's the blessing is across multiple cultures. We didn't know about people over here. We didn't know about people over there,
Mhm.
but we're all doing the same thing because we all didn't have TVs. We all didn't have YouTube. We
Right.
had the planets and we had fire and we were looking up at what was happening at these long periods of time where it was dark for a while.
Mm.
The next day, it gets shorter.
Mhm.
And hopefully you're in April, and April is, pretty light
Right.
around the same time of day. And then you
Hmm.
get summer solstice, and
Hmm.
you have the longest day. So the
Hmm.
winter solstice is about celebration in my family. The winter solstice is we've saved our seeds, we've made our harvest, we're still making.
Hmm.
That cold weather is upon us, and it's going to be a long, chilly night, especially here in Atlanta. We're going to dip down to 35 or so.
Yeah.
As a result, we're going to, be celebrating in our household. We already had dinner, and it was local, of course, from the backyard.
Right.
And what more can be said about the solstice but celebration and preparing yourself for the dreams to come? Because when it's dark, quick, you're not outside working, and you
Hmm.
to be with family. You have a chance to recoup. You have a chance to remember. And as you're remembering the year that was from June 22nd until now, those those days getting shorter and shorter and shorter,
Hmm.
a magic that happens that we can reflect and we can give thanks for the season that was, and
Hmm.
we can move forward. So
Moving forward. Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
about the winter solstice.
That is amazing. I was sitting here just taking some notes, and there's several things. Scientifically, we know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the furthest point the Earth will be from the sun. As you mentioned, for me, it's the forecast is that it will be 30-ish Fahrenheit, here in Maryland where I am. So this is not the season for, or this is not the day, I should say, for, as the elder folks will say, ripping and running, right? This is not the season for trying to do all the things and stressing our bodies out. This is the season, as you said, for reflecting, for slowing down, for hunkering down, spending time with the family, knowing that you've done all the things. What more is there to do in the garden or outdoors or what have you? Because up till this point, you've been doing and doing and doing, right? And it's interesting to me, the parallels you make, because I am finding this whole week, I've been in and out of conversation with different people. And consistently, I've heard people speaking about how exhausted they are, how tired they are, right? And we know the obvious. We know the obvious things that people are worried about and concerned about, global economics and things, right? We know the obvious of the holiday shopping and things like this for the Christmas and Hanukkah and all that. And also people are stretched to the as far as they can be stretched with holiday parties and get-togethers and all this other thing. You would think intuitively we would say, I can't do this much. It's like there's so much packed into this month, unlike any other month on the calendar. And I just don't understand why intuitively we don't, like tap into this, the knowing that, and the sun is the giver of life, right? Water and all. If we are this far away from the sun, light, the day is going to be shorter, and it's only been getting shorter and shorter up till now. This is the shortest, right? Why are we packing in so many things into this shorter period of light?
We've we've been out of touch for a lot of years, and on purpose. So as we're out of touch on purpose, it's pretty convenient to be like everybody else and be in the same rat race.
Yeah.
And that term rat race is pretty accurate. How do you get ahead or stay with the Joneses? The Joneses ain't, you know, they're cutting their grass. They're not planting vegetables or
Right.
pollinators. The Joneses are going to the bank, looking at their, dividends, which is important.
Right.
However,
Right.
your backyard in the compost. Are you paying attention to your compost? Is your
Yeah.
compost, thank you, is your compost, smelling like sweet candy? As a result, we have lost our way.
We
We
have.
we haven't gone outside at night forever. We go out to get a burger or two or a pizza, but we don't go outside and look at the stars.
Yeah. 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 And it says so much, because you mentioned compost. You think about most of the folks who have had some sort of harvest celebration, whether you want to call it Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving or whatever you call it, any kind of dinners and things like this, all of the things that I hope people have been throwing into their compost now is a good time to look at that, to turn that, to go outside and spend some time, just because these months pass by so quickly. This is a good time to be intentional about what you want to see looking forward, because at this point it's forward movement back to the sun. After 4:20 a.m. tomorrow, or p.m., whatever, I think it's a.m. After that, we are going to be making the long walk back to the sun. So these restoration practices, these renewal practices, this checking of the compost, taking every bit that you can put in that compost, be it shredded paper, be it your green, collard stems, be it whatever it is, making sure that you are moving that compost forward physically, and yourself physically and even metaphorically. How are you moving yourself forward back to the light?
Yep.
Right. And you mentioned Goru, was it Goru, the long boat in West African traditions?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I wrote it down phonetically. I'm going to put it in Google to see what I can come up with. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. Pull it up real quick if you got if you can, and it's a Goru, I believe.
Hmm.
country is I believe it's Mali. So if you look at Mali solstice, solstice traditions, something should pop up with all those ceremonies. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just West African culture or African culture. It spans the globe, and some some people call it the shortest day celebration, the longest night celebration, halfway out of the darkness, because we're halfway there to spring and then summer when you get these long days where it gets dark at 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30 sometimes. So everybody has a winter celebration and everybody has a summer celebration. And because of who we are and our belief in something greater,
Hmm.
I've attached these celebrations to a deity. And
Hmm.
you can look at some of the East Indian sculptures.
Hmm.
They're talking about some of the same things that the West African cultures are talking about, as far as the Irish are talking about, as far as whoever else you want to bring into the picture. Everyone's got their short day and long day celebrations.
Celebration. Hmm.
That,
And you just told me to pull this up. Sure enough, Goru is a ceremony celebrated by the Dogon people. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Dogon, people of Mali, on the winter solstice to celebrate a bountiful harvest. The ceremony involves using a 7-foot long vessel to make offerings to Amma, the creator, and the ancestors. The vessel represents a mythical ark that carried the 8 original human ancestors and all they needed to survive on Earth. The winter solstice is the day when the northern hemisphere experiences the longest night of the year and the beginning of winter. It usually occurs on December 21st or 22nd, when half of the earth is tilted the farthest from the sun. And it says that the Dogon, again, if I'm mispronouncing it, any viewer, please do correct me. The Dogon people have several other ceremonies, including Sigui, Sigui, a major ceremony that takes place every 60 years and can last for several years. Binu, a ceremony that involves worshiping a totem animal, and other ceremonies that they have here. Mono, a ceremony celebrated in January or February. But the key point I'm making here is ceremony. And recognizing what you just said, everything that you said earlier, right here, just that is fascinating, and it would be a fascinating study over these quieter months to challenge yourself to just do a simple search of winter solstice around the world. And what we will often find is that many of these traditions, different cultural traditions, are very closely aligned. One or two words may be different, one or two foods may be different, or the music or whatever. But at the end of the day, it comes down to celebrating. And I love that your family has is this this is a tradition for your family?
we always do a fire,
Mhm.
and we we do a fire on the full moon as well. But
Every full moon?
almost, I'm outside every full moon. The
Right.
fact, comes and goes every other full moon or so. But we do make the intention as a family to be together. Like last night, we were out by the fire ahead of time with the good intentions, because tonight is kind of cool, and we still enjoy the heat and the cool weather at 35 with the wind blowing like 15 miles an hour gusts. They ain't having it. So last everybody came out, it was cool. And, we set our things, and we always remember the ancestors, and we always, are appropriately respectful of those that lent the tradition to us.
That
And,
is so beautiful.
you know, it doesn't take much to celebrate, as we all know. We can all go out and get whatever we do and invite some friends and meet up wherever. However, when it comes to traditional cultural celebrations,
Mhm.
this dates back before Kwanzaa.
Right.
this dates back before and before.
And
So
be,
in
hmm
this video, how do you bring up some African stuff into this, longest night of the year? How do you make, like the brother did back in the 60s, late 60s and 70s, how do you create this remembrance of who
hmm
we are? The Kujilaku Kia?
Oh, Coochie Chakulia.
Yeah,
Yes.
purposeful. And you got 7 days. The 7 days are very important. So how do we bring in something else that's culturally significant for us in this day and time? Kind of like Kwanzaa, but on the earth level with the long
Right.
in a short day. And, there's the equinoxes as well.
Yes.
The planetary things, it's not people things, it's planetary, which means it's
Yes. hmm
powerful beyond belief. And
hmm
respond to it.
hmm
So we can't ignore something that the plants respond to. Collective, what's the one from Kwanzaa that is collective?
Is it Ujama? I think. Let me see. Collective responsibility. I used to I have to I have to apologize because I used to have them committed to memory. Collective work and responsibility is the third principle. And Ujima, that's what it is. Ugima. Ujima.
So you got these principles that are solid for us every day of the year.
hmm
Bring them up pretty much every conversation because they apply.
hmm
This is wonderful for this time of year for everybody.
It
However,
is.
there
hmm
is this planetary thing that has been happening way longer than we've been
Yeah.
around.
Yep.
And our ancestors recognized what was up in there. And these short days and long days, and the plants respond to the harvest, and stuff dies, and stuff grows,
hmm
sleep, and stuff hibernates, and stuff eats a whole lot, September, October, and then it goes under the ground. The frogs bury themselves, the turtles bury themselves.
Yeah.
What do we
There
do?
are no butterflies to be found because they've already flown down to Mexico. And I'm not being funny. The monarchs have already made their migration down to the warmer climates, birds as well, all of that.
And
Uh,
this
Whales making their way down.
and this gets back to what you're saying about why are we ripping and running on these short days. We can easily turn the table and get back and be calm and
hmm
stress free.
hmm
Some simple habits that we agree to use. And
hmm
that might be the hardest part is creating new habits because we
Yes.
old habits that our parents did, that our grandparents did, and on and on and on. However, we have an opportunity in 2025 on the solstice, create a new day for,
Yep.
for yourself.
hmm hmm
In 2025 on the equinox, create a new day for yourself and your
hmm
family. And your,
hmm hmm
it's just a few hours of remembering something bigger than who we are.
hmm
And it gets us back to, as you said, do some research and find out what different cultures do around this time of year.
hmm
It's fascinating what we get into as far as the reverence our people had. And this is humans,
Humans, exactly.
reverence for Mother
Yeah.
Nature.
Yes. Yes. And it doesn't take much to break this cycle of doing. One person saying, I was tuned into this podcast, I was tuned into this live, and some folks, Angel and Maurice, and these folks were talking about, and I want to do this. I want to start a new tradition. And, I think a lot about the fact that this is a very hard time of year for a lot of people. Um, People who are grieving have lost people that they love, and I'm going to say love, and everyone's not holly and jolly and running around and getting gifts and buying trees and celebrating and all of this. I wonder if this could be for someone who is looking for a new tradition for themselves, something that doesn't involve all the commercialized gift giving, or if they don't have anyone that they are giving gifts to for whatever the reason may be, if this gift of lighting the candle, going out, of going to bed early, of honoring, of making a solstice dinner could be that person's celebration of this season, or that person's honoring of their own ancestral line. This is such a rich opportunity to bring meaning into our lives, and especially if this is not the holliest and jolliest time of year for you for whatever reason. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm saying multiple things here, but I'm just trying to sort of, I'm thinking about that ancestral lineage and how many people I know personally who, I mean, I had a patient this morning who we were doing some diabetes education, and she was, she needs to lose some weight. She knows that, and she's been struggling. I mean, really struggling with sugar cravings. I mean, just really intense sugar cravings. And so we were talking about, like, should I do this medication? Should I do that medication? And you know how I feel about these things. And I wanted to get to the bottom line of what is actually going on. And what we discovered in the conversation is that this is the time of year that her mom, who's no longer with us, would make all these cookies, would make all these sweets, and a relative wanted to remind her of, do a good deed, and sent her batches of these cookies. Remember, your mom used to such and such and such. And so she's just been stress eating these cookies. Well, now we know what's really going on with the, and this has been going on since November, right? So what I'm saying is, this is an opportunity to get underneath a lot of these cultural things that we've been doing for years that really aren't working for us, all the cookies and the snacks and things. And so she and I were talking about Solstice. She had never heard of it. I told her, I said, well, why don't you tune in tonight? If you don't get an opportunity, review it. And she just burst into tears. She said, Angel, I've never heard of this, and this sounds like something that would be perfect for me, and I'm going to share this with my family, because I want to find a way to honor my mother and grandmother and grandfather and whatnot. But I can't do all these cookies and the pies and the getting together and the parties and all this other stuff. So to your point, I feel like it's just such a beautiful opportunity to step out of all the commercialism, and then we talk about being in service to the earth. We talk about global warming. What better way to just honor this beautiful planet of ours, where so much is happening just to sustain human life. The earth is going to be here. People say, oh, this is the end of the world and humans are going to, let me tell you something, the earth is going to be here. Trust me. If you believe that there were dinosaurs, that should say enough. There's proof that there were dinosaurs on this planet. Way back. If anybody is not going to make it, or anything is not going to make it, it's going to be humans. It's not going to be the planet. That's for sure. I firmly believe that. And so this is an opportunity to take that step back, like you said, and maybe create new rituals. And I really love and admire the ritual that you and your family have, the tradition that you and your family have.
It'd be good to have you and your family come visit.
I was thinking that. I was really thinking that. I said, you know what? I want to get down to that farm. I don't say want to. I'm making that intention. Seriously. So as we're talking about this more and more, and you were talking about looking forward, I wanted to share something that came up in my, I started something new, which is a 100-day countdown to the new year. It's really using a devotional, a journal. And so every day it's just 100 days to the new year. I lost a couple of days, so I'm going to go past the new year, but it's okay. But I want to share this passage today about belief and faith. And this is for those who lean into Christian tradition. So this is from that journal. The biblical quote that the author wrote here is, "I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus." It comes from Philippians 3:14. Everything fresh that God has for you is ahead. We are to learn from the past, but we cannot live there. God's mercies, gifts, and blessings are new each and every day. It's wonderful to celebrate the good and give God praise, but we must also be careful not to romanticize the past. Otherwise, we neglect the gifts of the present and miss the pathway into the future. Pressing on toward the mark of the prize of the high calling means that we focus forward. Release what and who didn't work out. It's time to operate in your expectation, not your experience. There is something sweeter on the horizon, but we must believe it to seize it. It's time to shed the wounds and worries and raise your faith and expectancy. That's the only way to enter the new dimension and promised land that your creator has specifically for you.
Now, was that what version was that? New English version, something like that?
King James Version, "I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus." Philippians 3:14.
Okay.
And so what this journal, this, devotional journal for today is focusing forward, knowing that pressing on and moving forward, calling means focus, release what and who didn't work out. It's time to operate in your expectation, not your experience. It's time to shed the wounds and worries and raise your faith and expectancy. That's the only way to enter the new dimension and promised land that the Creator has specifically for you. So what resonated for me is, this is the end, right? We've got to press on and press forward. When I think about solstice, and as you are describing it, from the earth, from the land, all of this, you're done with last year's growing season. It's done.
Right.
It's done. You're focusing forward now. We're
Yep.
moving forward we're moving toward greater sunlight, right? This is now the end. We are Tomorrow at 4 a.m. will be the darkest, the longest night, right? The longest period of dark. Anything after this point is forward movement toward the sun.
Yep.
So when you think about it, whatever your spiritual tradition is, I'm not here to suggest anything for anyone. All I'm focusing on is this forward movement towards, pressing forward. We're done with, and if you see, even I'll bring it toward just the general conversation of the day. We're moving into a new phase. An election cycle has come to an end. Whether you agree with what the results were or not, we've got to move forward. The only way through is through, forward. And so, how can we use this solstice night to think about brain health, a mindset? I want to leave that to you because I know you've got some specific thoughts about mindset and a healthier brain that allows us to think clearly in such a way that moves us forward.
I'm going to bring up three simple things. And I'm looking for Deepak Chopra. I'm looking for Oprah. I'm looking for Dr. Phil to latch on to this because they're on that level that when I'm about to say these three things, they can tap in and you and I can be featured multiple times on their channels and networks. Number one, amino acids. Number two, ions, I-O-N, ions, I-O-N-S. Number three, and this is, I think, the most critical one, is soil health and mineralization. The soil is where the animals and the plants get their nutrients. We are animals and we are getting our nutrients, quote unquote, from plants and animals.
Mhm.
As a result of probably 100 years of deforestation and de-everything of our soil and putting in the NPK that gardeners know about, and that's your home stuff,
Mhm.
NPK. We've been putting in NPK, but we haven't been putting in those trace minerals, those trace amino
Mhm.
acids that the plants need and we need and the animals need are missing and have been for about 100 years. Thus, our soil is depleted. Thus, our brain health is depleted, let alone our body health being depleted.
Mhm.
The result of having unhealthy soil or soil that has zero nutrient value, except for the, and this is chemistry, but except for the chemical that
Mhm.
the farmers are spraying
Mhm.
on to get that rapid growth in order to make profit for big ag and big corp, there's something that we as consumers are missing.
Yes,
As
for real.
as
Mhm.
in all the sugars that your client was mentioning her mom did every season, you know, that's become a habit. And as humans, we're accustomed to the sweet.
Mhm.
Where's the bitter?
Yep.
This long night is the bitter
Mhm.
because certain parts of the world is cold
Mhm.
for a long time.
Mhm.
We need to embrace the bitters. We
Mhm.
think about what's going on with um, certain types of vegetables that taste sweet only that we're going to eat.
Mhm.
To embrace those bitter herbs, those bitter vegetables. And this is in all of our writings as well, the Torah, the Talmud, on and on and on. As
Mhm.
a result, there's the soil health, the amino acids, but the ions.
Mhm.
The ions are getting to a small, I can't even say how small the ions are.
Mhm.
But right now, there's ions between you and I over this.
Mhm.
And as your client today, there's ions between you, her, and I. And
Mhm.
you're watching. And
Mhm.
the positive of the ions and the negative of the ions are constantly working.
Constantly. Mhm.
The result of amino acids, which we have to have those 16 vitals, and we also have to have the trace aminos,
Mhm.
missing quite a bit of nutrition, not just physical nutrition to keep us moving, but
Mhm.
in that helps the water flow
Mhm.
our bodies. And this is
Mhm.
water flow. I'm talking about there's a lot of stuff in the liquid in our blood moving
Mhm.
head to our toes, through our heart, through our lungs,
Mhm.
filters, this and that. We are in tune, hope,
Mhm.
with nature
Mhm.
on this long night, on the short days, on. We are meant to be in tune, like our ancestors were,
Mhm.
air level, vibrating. And this is what I'm getting to with the ions. There's a vibration. Right now, you're hearing my voice. You're hearing Angel's voice. That's a
Mhm.
ion vibration.
Mhm.
Speak positivity. Or if your tongue is forked and you're being negative or whatever, it speaks that negativity. You
Mhm.
control the ions like you can control your amino acid intake, like you can control your soil health.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ancestors knew this. Thus, they celebrated
Yes.
the planting. and they sang to the seeds, and they celebrated the harvest, and they sang to the harvest, and they celebrated the sacrifice, and
Mhm.
it celebrated, and they also celebrated in mourning for the life that was taken. The plants,
Mhm.
animals are sacred. We're sacred. We celebrate and we also mourn.
Yes.
There's something about the soil health. There's something about what that soil gives us that we intake that keeps us balanced.
Mhm.
If your aminos are off, your gut is off, and if
Yep.
your gut is off, your brain is off.
Mhm.
Sugar floating around, you ain't thinking right, and you're getting dizzy, you're losing your eyesight.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
pollution. And then you get to the simplest part, which is the ions. Plants have them, they go through them. Water has it, it goes through it. Animals have it, your pets, it goes through it. Politicians have it, they go through it.
Mhm.
Everything,
Every living thing.
and
Mhm. Mhm.
what we got to do is slow down. Take
Yeah.
this. We're going to have a few more dark nights before
You're
we
right.
take these dark nights and shut it down at 7 o'clock. Shut it down and tune into this on YouTube and review what we're talking about and apply it, because these simple reviews only take a little bit of time to apply.
Mhm.
Take notes
Yep.
and get your pen and pencil sharp and take notes on your life.
That's
Make
right.
your life. And
Yep.
when your life begins to change, let us know, because we care about you. You are important. And I want to get as many healthy soil particles from aminos into your body as I can. Because soon enough, we'll be talking about how to start your spring garden. And soon enough, we'll be talking about how to harvest your winter crops. And soon
Mhm.
enough, talking about the spring equinox. And soon enough, you'll be tuning back in here with Angel and I
Yep.
talking about the joy of good brain health.
Yes.
Those ions that are flashing over YouTube, because some of that YouTube stuff is garbage. You don't want that garbage. You want that positivity.
That's right.
Angel, what's your YouTube handle?
Siva Health Group. So it's youtube.com/C, I believe, and then /Siva Health Group. And I'm glad you brought that up because that is the shift that I'm making for 2025 is moving into the spaces where this information can be found. I really like Instagram a lot, but when people are searching for healthy information on diet, nutrition, exercise. They're not searching on Instagram for that. They're searching for that on YouTube. So I'm glad you said that because more of my content will be shifting. Not that I'm leaving Instagram. I'll let you know that on Instagram, hey, check it out on YouTube. But it's more of a long form that will allow me to have a little bit more wiggle room to talk about healthy things. I find that on Instagram, there's a lot of scrolling. Um, and I really would like to talk to and engage with folks who are passionate about what we're talking about. And YouTube offers a little bit more flexibility for that without all of the other components. So just so folks know, that is going to be where you're going to be able to find me more and more, my podcast. And if you're on my mailing list, I will be going. So if you get the newsletter, tune in on YouTube because then I'll be explaining in greater detail what's in that newsletter, especially about brain health, because everything stems off of this brain. Soil is a living brain. That soil is a living brain. And so I'm so happy that you shared all of that because that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take this time to rest, renew, reflect your family, my family, me, you, and then come into 2025 with that forward mind moving mindset that everything that has been in 2024 is for us to learn from, to grow from, but we're not carrying that energy into a new growth season. We've got new crops to grow, we've got new work to do, we've got new people to speak to, we've got new things to do. It is a spirit of newness for us. And so, I would caution anyone who wants to, like, focus on 2024. Like, there's lots to learn from 2024, but we really do need to move forward and take the lessons and start preparing ourselves for the days to come. And to your point, I wanted to say this too. If you don't learn anything else from this segment we've had tonight, I want you to think about what Maurice said about these amino acids. They are the building blocks of a healthy brain. They truly are. It's something that came into a wave in functional medicine, and most people know functional medicine is how you move from functional to optimal, right? So functional medicine is about moving from just surviving to thriving, right? And in many places, functional medicine can be, thought of as a lot of different things. I won't go into it, but at the end of the day, it really is getting to the root of your problem. Functional medicine testing is understanding what Maurice has said about gut health, about brain health, about food allergies, food sensitivities, all those kinds of things, because those are root causes of the things that ail us most, right? If you don't learn anything else, learn about amino acids and how they are foundational to building a better brain. When we talk about psychiatric medications for depression, for anxiety, those brain neurotransmitters, those medications are the chemical formulation of those things that are needed to make those neurotransmitters in your brain. Okay. So if we're talking about L-theanine, if we're talking about L-tryptophan, we're talking about a lot of different things that make those neurotransmitters for your brain to operate at its best. Okay. When we're talking about soil, magnesium, get yourself on YouTube or wherever you can to learn about what magnesium. Let me tell you something. The elders knew magnesium. Over 300 different functions in your body are dependent upon magnesium. So when we're talking about this soil health, and when people tell me, oh, I eat all organic, please do not brag to me about organic food if you do not know where the quality of the soil that it's grown in, because the soil is painfully deficient in many, many parts. So again, these are things while you're budgeting and saving, I can't say enough. Travel to Maurice's farm. You will learn so much about the most essential thing, soil health. And whether you have the space for a farm or whether you've just got a 2x4 little space to grow some things yourself, some herbs. Me personally, I always say start with some herbs, because if all you have is 2 feet by 4 feet on a deck or on a patio, Maurice, can you not grow some serious herbs on a deck? I mean, seriously. And especially if you go vertical and you go horizontal. I mean, so we are going to be talking about all those things. And I want your level of knowledge to be supreme, because there's a lot of misinformation out here. There's a lot. And there's nothing like experiential learning, traveling to a place, putting your hands in some good soil. And for a soil scientist to take you by the hand, as Maurice will, and put soil, really healthy soil, in your hands and show you what unhealthy soil looks like, your life will never be the same. It'll never be the same. So these are some of the goals that I think about in these quieter moments as we're planning and looking forward. I'm really looking forward to learning more with you, Maurice, about soil science, soil health, brain health, and these rituals and traditions. I tell you, tonight, I'm going to spend the evening. I'm just going to put in Winter solstice worldwide? Because now my brain is like, I learned something tonight about West African traditions. I did not know that. And that is the beautiful, beautiful thing is there's always something to be learned.
Yeah,
Always. That's the beauty of farming and growing food.
yeah.
I bet you got your notepad out and you probably have like notes forever with new things that you're learning season to season. Yeah. 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 But one takeaway for someone tonight who just wants to do one thing, they may be exhausted here and they're just like, oh, I don't want to, it's too late. I can't get a meal together. I can't call anything. What can someone do who's just by themselves, at home and seeing this and saying, you know what, I want to honor this winter solstice. This sounds so inspiring to me. One thing that you might be able to recommend that they consider doing as a practice or a self-care practice for themselves for winter solstice.
I'd recommend because right now it's right now it's morning over in Europe, that
Mhm.
part of, and in a little bit it'll be nightfall, over in Japan, things like that. So no matter where you are and no matter when you get up or when you go to bed, there's something about the evening intention or the morning intention.
Yes.
When you arise, give thanks for that breath that you're conscious, and then make the intention to be kind. To
Mm,
make the intention to be kind to others, and make the intention to be kind to the earth.
mm.
Those simple intentions on rising, and those simple intentions as you take your rest in the evening, especially tomorrow, because, or today, depending, it's a long day. They're already into solstice over in the UK.
Mhm.
But just think about the simplicity of being kind. Being kind changes things,
Yes.
and it changes things really rapidly. And as these things change, because you made the intention, your family is affected, you're affected, the doorman's affected, the Uber person is affected. Everyone that comes across, let alone people that you even watch as you're in the back of the Uber and people are walking down the sidewalk. I'm thinking about New York and Jersey.
Mhm.
There's an intention there, and people pick up on the intention. And as you're in the back of the Uber and you're looking out the window and your smile is there, people are, they're in their headphones, but they're looking at this passing car that you're in the back, and you're grinning,
Yep. Yep.
sending the kind vibe. You're on the train, you're reading the New York Times or reading Newsweek or whatever. You got your piece in, and you ain't paying attention to nobody, but you got a smile on your face.
Yes. Yes.
You're up
Yes.
Bronx from the A train, and you got a smile on your face. It changes everybody around you because everybody's watching you. You're watching everybody, everybody's watching you. Be kind.
Be kind.
Just be kind.
Yep. And you know what? I love this. I'm going to close with this because you are so right. When you begin the day and when you end the day intentionally, it changes. It really, really changes your brain. It changes that those ions around you, as you said, that space around you. It changes so much, and it makes me think. I was just pulling up this metta prayer, the Buddhist metta prayer, and it just goes like this. It is an intentional prayer to your point, and it's the wish or the intention or the desire or the prayer for whatever it is that you're intentional. So here's the meta prayer. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. May all beings be free. That's just one, but there are hundreds of other metta prayers. It's spelled METTA. I'll read one more. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be happy and healthy. May I be connected and calm. May I be free from suffering. May I live in peace. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all beings feel happy and healthy. May all beings feel connected and calm. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings live in peace. Metta is the principle of wishing it for yourself and then wishing it for all sentient beings, all living beings. And when you radiate that out, you have to know that it changes things. And on a night like tonight or a day like tomorrow, when we are moving toward the light, I can't think of anything more beautiful than just a simple, intentional metta prayer or intentional verse that you put out into the ether. Because as you said, these words carry a physical vibration. I'm so grateful that we always make this work, that no technology is going to get in our way, and that we are always moving forward. I thank our viewers tonight, Tony La Serene 9. I don't know your first name, but thank you so much for joining in. Julia, thank you for joining in. And to anyone who's watching this after the fact, do us one simple favor. Just share this with someone you know. Leave us a message about something you'd like to learn in the new year. If you are moving forward into the light of the new year, leave us a message about something you'd love to hear more about, learn more about. Sign up for mailing lists, get in the flow of the know of what Maurice is doing, what I am doing, and be part of this intentional community that we aim to build around soil, soul, and spirit. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really deeply appreciate your presence, and use that little arrow on Instagram to share it with someone you know, and on YouTube, just give the thumbs up to let us know that you really enjoyed this evening with us tonight, talking about finding the light, soil, soul, and spirit. We appreciate you. Maurice, thank you so much. Enjoy Solstice, what remains, with your family, and we'll be in conversation about our next third Thursday, right? January. Third Thursday, January. So, folks, mark your calendar, third Thursday. We had to switch it up this week because of my schedule, but it will be third Thursday in January 2025. Give your plants a big hug for me, too. Your plants. Right. Bye-bye, my friend. Thank you.